Hey Ashley, I just finished your video. I am so sorry. I'm in the car on my way um, home from Mississippi. I just wanted to say that I really appreciate your honesty. I completely agree that this was not the easiest to navigate through. Um, it was definitely a challenge for me too, but I think you did an exceptional job. Like, you don't give yourself enough credit because you just got through this with so much ease, and it was really easy to follow, and I just appreciate all of your insight. I also went with option one, and I also agree that the reason the therapist asked about her family in the beginning, because in the Adler theory, we have learned that family is a huge part, and they have a huge influence on the children. But I also like how you mentioned it could be the biological family, or it can be whoever the child is raised from. And so I like how you brought that detail in as well, because it doesn't matter if they're blood related or not. It's whoever is influencing the child. I also liked how you mentioned the parental relationship, and how parental relationships have huge influences on the child as well. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be a sexual relationship. I have to say that you mentioning same-sex relationships is an outstanding question. I didn't really even think of that at all, and I would love to know myself if a child is raised in a same-sex marriage, how that would affect a child's development. If they didn't have the strong male and female figure in their life. So great question. I love how you're always thinking ahead and outside the box. You do that a lot, and I really enjoy that. So I know you brought up her occupation, and I remember reading in chapter 2 about the importance of a career and how it can influence their future. But I agree, when the therapist mentioned her occupation and how she was talking about being a teacher, she did light up. But I thought it was really interesting how you talked about how when she is discussing her ex-husband, that's really the only positive thing she mentions about him, is that he supports her occupation. I also liked how you mentioned, and I agree, as a mother, like, she's going to put everything aside to make sure that her kids are happy and develop into strong, independent people. I feel like, without a doubt, that is the most important, and I feel like that shows that she has a healthy outlook about family and love. Not necessarily in all of her personal relationships, but she's definitely wanting her children to be successful and happy, and eventually be independent. It was neat how you tied in the therapist in the third question, how you noticed how the therapist did not mention birth order, which, reading the chapter, I thought that was very interesting. That whole, and in the discussion, how it was talking about the influence of the child and how the birth order affects them. So maybe you found that interesting as well. But I like how you mentioned he didn't say anything about birth order, but just jumped into her family dynamics. And then you talked about recognizing early on that her parents didn't have the healthiest relationship. And later in her life, she realized she would have to figure things out on her own. Great point. I also think you had very good point talking about how she wasn't a team player, and that's something that she's going to have to continue moving forward. I know you laughed about that, but that's really true, and that's really smart. It's also very smart you mentioning how the counselor said, if this issue didn't exist, how would things be different? And you mentioned that this is something that is going to get her thinking about how she would potentially have to face her future. Now, I know that you didn't have confidence about this, but I think you nailed it. I think you did a great job, and you had amazing insight, and I look forward to hearing what you have to say next week. Talk to you later, Ashley.